So actually, Anne, I'm going to start with you.
Oh my goodness.
On this. Well, given that Aunt Lydia is coming with us from one series to the next, what does it feel like to have now an audience seeing what this next chapter of The Handmaid's Tale turned into?
Oh, it's so wonderful. I could feel it from all of you. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for joining us. It's a wonderful group of young actors, beautiful women I'm learning from, and I am so grateful to them. What a pleasure. Thank you.
I will also ask what it was like to be prematurely preserved in bronze. What do you think of the statue?
I have no idea. I took one look at it. I thought, is this happening? What? I don't know. I need to live with it a little longer, I think. Thank you.
Well, to you, Warren and Bruce, you already spoke up here a little while ago about the kind of trepidation you have about continuing a story like this, but it was the women on the stage, many of the women in this room, whose courage helped you do that. When you look at the performances on the screen, what is it that made it, maybe not all worth it to do this again, but what made it perhaps even more fulfilling than you might have even imagined when you started out?
You're assuming that the other one was fulfilling. The first one was, it was very fulfilling. It was wonderful. I think when you see the performances on the screen, the great thing is that you kind of feel like you're finally telling a secret to everybody that you've had for a long time. We've been working with these women for so long and editing these episodes for so long, and we've seen what they can, just the amazing performances and energy and precision and preparation that they bring to these characters. I mean, I do feel like we're just finally showing it to people. That's the feeling we have.
Warren, you said it earlier, that moment of looking at the monitor, seeing Chase, and feeling again that history was repeating itself. What was it about seeing her on that screen that made you feel that way?
Her presence. That Chase, like many young actors, auditioned for the role. I'd like to say that there was rigorous debate. There was no debate. There were many auditions, and she was channeling Agnes in a way that spoke to us. And then as Martha Sparrow built the world of the Testaments, and they were wardrobed, and Chase went into that wardrobe, and then that first day with the dollhouse behind her and revealing her there, you just had a sense that she got it. It was transformative. So we began actually the development of this show. Our first discussions were in 2018 with Margaret about what it might be. And then the book came out in 2019. And we had a day job. That was Handmaid's Tale. But Bruce had time to really live with what could this be, and to shape it and to find it. And then all of that planning, and with Hulu and MGM talking about, we had a 5-year plan for The Handmaid's Tale. That went to 6. But we knew we wanted to follow right up with the Testaments. So all of those hopes and dreams were placed on those shoulders. And she just rose up and seized it. And that was kind of a magnificent experience.
How did you push through those kind of weighty expectations, Chase? Because obviously, you'd seen the series, you knew about the books. What was it that made you say, there's something about Agnes that I feel like I can and want to translate?
I think that the thing about Agnes that I really fell in love with, that you can see from the first episode, is her love for her friends. And I think also a lot of that when we got to set the first day, and then the second day and the third day when I got to work with Lucy, Rowan, and Matea, it felt so easy. And I think that even from the first script, you could sense that love, and that was something that I really wanted to bring forward as much as possible because it's so pure, the love that she has for her friends. So that's what I would say.
And that idea is we're getting a chance to meet these girls who grew up in Gilead. How did you kind of prepare for that reality?
For girls who grew up in Gilead, I mean, I remember what it was like to be a teenager. So I think at the core of that, like we all understood that being a teenager is universal. It doesn't matter if you're in Gilead, if you're anywhere else in the world. And I think the prime example of that is when the girls are allowed to talk in the lunch hall, which was, you could hear the eruption of laughter and conversation, and that is something that I think anybody can grasp to, because you remember what it was like to be a teenager, and to have these big emotions and everything seems so big, when now looking back it was just so small but so precious that you had that experience at that age.
Absolutely. That is exactly what makes everything about this series so still incredibly relatable. We can go back to those moments. And Lucy, for you with Daisy and her kind of dual narrative, we're going to get a chance to explore, obviously, her life before, a bit in Toronto. What was it about that prospect that excited you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers because what Daisy's got coming up is pretty cool. But I think the dual aspect of Daisy is in a way I got to be the audience's perspective in Gilead, because the thoughts and reactions that Daisy's having is exactly the same way that you or I would react if someone put us in Gilead and put us in that dining hall when that guardian's getting his arm cut off. Like, we'd all be freaking out. And it's really fun to get to be in that environment where everyone's so pious and serious and dutiful, and Daisy's in the corner being sarky or thinking all these things about these people are nuts. And I really embraced that. But you know, it was challenging because when Daisy comes to Gilead, she has to put on a new personality, but her old self still lives within her, and I didn't want to lose that part of her, because you don't lose your old self when you go somewhere new or you're trying to assimilate in an environment. The old parts of you are always present, and I was constantly trying to find ways to balance that or show the old Daisy or the funny Daisy, and there's a lot more as the season goes on where you see those moments of her seep through, and I'm not going to spoil them, but it's definitely fun getting that sort of very average teenage perspective on these people are absolute freaks, and I don't know what's going on or what I've done, but it was great fun being Daisy, and such a privilege.
I mean, shall we talk about the assembly?
Let's talk.
As you said, in that moment, you were very much the audience, but also in that moment, we're getting a chance to see these young girls who have been both like repressed and indoctrinated into this just idea and this, I mean, I don't know, I think everyone remembers teenage girls do still have like a lot of rage because there's a lot of things going on. So in filming that scene, ladies, actually Rowan, since you're right here, I'm going to go to you next. I mean, what was it like to show that other side of Shu as well?
In that scene?
Sure, yeah.
Well, it was interesting watching it just now because I feel like when we shot it, I was just in character, so I was like really excited for that guy's hand to be cut off. And then watching it now, I sort of was like, oh, that was kind of unsettling. But yeah, I mean, I think for, you know, the girls, showing emotion is really, you have to be very selective about when you're showing emotion and how much emotion you're showing, and that's why their friendships are like their lifeline, because they can show their personalities. So in that scene, I feel like it's kind of their one opportunity to have power over the men. They never get to even look at men in the show, so it was fun to film that. It was a crazy night.
I mean, yes, but it's not just that side of her personality that we get to see. Something that's very fun about Shu is that, you know, you've got the kind of, I mean, I was someone who liked to raise her hand a lot in class, so I probably would have been just like that. But there's so many different layers to this character. What was it about her and the evolution that we're going to see through the season that interested you?
It was really fun to get to be mean, honestly. I don't know, I guess I had a lot of, in my first read for it, I just felt it was the scene where I yelled, rapist. And just thought, I know this is a little bit messy of me, but it was just so funny to me. But when I was shooting it, I guess finding that sort of accidental dark humor in Shunammite was really a joy. And also, I guess throughout the season, just seeing how, someone who is constantly kind of stirring the pot, especially I think in high school, is deeply insecure and really having internal stuff going on. So I was excited during the season that we got to see more of that.
And similarly, Matea, with Becca's storyline this season, she is also initially, we get a chance to see, she's really not looking forward to this idea of getting a husband. No. What was it about the initial read that intrigued you, just that on its face, before you kind of dug deeper and found out more about her?
Yeah, I think what intrigued me most about first reading the script and then sitting down with Becca's character is that she has this initial hesitation and doubt with her ultimate fate of one day becoming a wife and having to become a mother, which was so different than the rest of these girls and so unique in the sense that it offers this new perspective that we don't normally see in Gilead. So, as an actor, that it's so fun to play into that challenge and to be able to kind of offer this sigh of relief where maybe there is hope for this doubt and this kind of hesitation. But yeah, Becca has a lot of internal turmoil and tug of war and struggle that was really interesting to explore.
Bruce, I will say I really like sitting next to you because I can hear you laughing at what you know, or not spoilers, but you're like, you guys just don't know what's to come, audience. When you think about the development of all of these characters and all of the layers to these young women that you're going to explore throughout the next episodes, tell me a little bit about just fully rounding out their personas, just allowing them to all have these just very rich inner lives.
Well, writing a script, it's really a two-part invention. It's what I put in and what they put in on top of that. So especially as the season goes along, it becomes much more the actors making those decisions, bringing those characters to life. And you're, in some ways, following them, writing ahead of them. So, you see Chase does this, you're like, oh, wow, she could do that. I wonder if we could do this. And so there's a lot of adjustment along the way, which is the thing I love about TV. I mean, when you make a movie, when you're done, you're done. And if the people don't have chemistry, they don't have chemistry forever. But here you can adjust as you're going along. It's a little like painting the car during the Indianapolis 500, but you get to adjust as you go along, and I think all of us were incredibly inspired by all of their performances, and that's what made it fun and made the characters come to life, was the combination of the script plus these women.
Well, Anne, I wanted to ask you, obviously we've seen an evolution already of Aunt Lydia throughout the original series, but we're going to get a chance to see her change even more this time. Was it initial conversations with Margaret or Bruce and Warren or just reading the script? How much did you know kind of before you jumped in?
Well, I don't know how much I knew. Bruce and Warren are always available to talk to and to help us to understand, so I'm very grateful. I love Margaret Atwood. I didn't have any conversations per se with her, but it always begins with the writing, and the writing is so good. We just follow that path. And I thank Bruce and all of our writers who are just wonderful. The clarity with which they write, and the path is clear. Where she's going, just follow. It's really been a great, great pleasure.
Was there somewhere that she goes that you weren't expecting?
Well, I guess finding perhaps a kinder, a bit gentler Lydia, that's a new experience for her. Oh, you're laughing. Why? But that's, I think, a lovely thing to explore about her in the Testaments, and we'll see where that goes.
Well, speaking of seeing things, obviously someone else returned at the end of this episode. One executive producer, but also, as we see, we get a chance to see June on screen, bringing back Elisabeth Moss. Tell me about that moment of having her on set. And, Lucy, you're there in that scene, but you don't quite notice her in that moment.
Yes. I'm going to be very careful with my words. It was, because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was such a joy having Elisabeth be, such a pivotal role in this show, both on screen, as we see, and off. And, I remember that day on set, because that was I think that was my first day. That was my first day, and we were sitting on like a main street in the centre of Toronto, and it was such a big day, and it's a big day anyway, having your first day on a show such as this, but having your first day with Elisabeth Moss being there is like, but it was such a joy, and she's been so forthcoming for all of us, and has been such a key source of information for when we've had any queries or concerns, and she's always been readily available, and that day was a testament to that, and I definitely was just in awe of her, I think, all day. I don't think I said a lot to her that day, because I just watched her from a distance a lot, but yeah, no, she was the embodiment of The Handmaid's Tale, and none of us took for granted how influential she has been socially, and all of us stepping into this world. We feel her presence, and we feel the gratitude for her, and having her there was so special, and I'm so grateful for her, and her continual support on this journey has been a privilege.
There is no one like Elisabeth Moss, and that is for sure.
I want to ask you about that idea, though, too, that, obviously Elisabeth is an incredible actor, but she's also become, such a face of women's empowerment. And we actually just happened to randomly be here on the last day of Women's History Month. What timing. But this is a story about, it's a coming-of-age story, but as you guys have described it, a defiant coming-of-age story about these women who go on to change and make history. So what is it like to step into that power and those shoes, too?
It's such an incredible honor, I think, above all, but I feel a large responsibility, and I think we all can say the same, that we feel very responsible taking this story forward and tackling a lot of things that the show highlights, and a lot of the really unfortunate things that the girls go through. So I definitely think that, above all, we feel incredibly grateful to be a part of a project that can be another highlight to all of the topics that happen in the show. But also we feel a great responsibility to do justice by it, and to do justice by these girls' stories. And also for the viewers as well, because we hope that what we do on the screen can touch them in their own personal lives and make them want to go forward and be the change that they want to see out in the world. So we feel very grateful, but also we feel a strong sense of responsibility as well.
I mean, it is an incredible balance that a show like this, even just in that first episode that you can see, you mentioned, this is all of those feelings that we all have of being in, teenagers and not being in control of our lives, but the stakes are significantly higher for these girls. So I would love to hear from all of you, so Rowan, you, and how you feel about stepping into this series in that way.
I think it's such a privilege to get to be a part of something where there's so much source material, and a huge fan base and so much love, and it was only a few months, right, when you wrapped season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale to when we started, so there was so much of the same crew, when I got there, I just felt like I was walking in on a lot of love, and it feels really good to feel listened to on set, and I think, the show's values are reflected in Bruce and in Warren, and I don't know, I guess it's Margaret Atwood's iconic. Handmaid's Tale is fab. So it's great, it's awesome.
Mateo, listen, Margaret Atwood, icon.
She is.
But yes, to be able to bring her work and her words to this new generation, what does that mean?
It's, again, truly such an honor and such a privilege. Being able to have my own individual impact on a world that she created that's so beautiful and forever timeless is such an amazing opportunity. And showing up to a set where everybody was putting in their 110% effort every single day and as equally passionate as the next to deliver not only just such great quality TV, but, to deliver an important message that audiences can, determine for themselves, which was an incredible opportunity and, something I'll never take for granted.
Bruce, as you kind of continue on this journey, as we've said, we are going to get your first 3 episodes on April 8th, and then we will have the rest of the season weekly. What is it that you hope that audiences get from this particular story?
Well, I think this show is about hope, because The Handmaid's Tale was about this terrible tragedy that happened to this woman when her entire life was taken away, and how does she survive that, and how does she find a way to kind of get back to some sort of real life. But here, this is about young women who are full of possibility and hope. They found a way to build a real life here, a warm, and all the things Gilead told them not to do. Have friendships, have their own moral code, all of those things they've done absolutely anyway. So, I think that it's a very different environment, because instead of hoping that June has something, you're hoping these girls don't lose something.
I mean, that is such a powerful idea. And I agree. That is, there's something incredibly powerful about the idea that these women are fighting for the future in a different way than we saw the time before. So Anne, I actually will go back down to you similarly. As you kind of finish your arc with Aunt Lydia, I mean, I don't know, actually, there could be more stories. Margaret could keep writing. But as you have now seen the effect The Handmaid's Tale has had, and now the effect that the Testaments will hopefully have on a next generation, what is your hope?
My hope is to spend 5 seasons with these wonderful actors. That is my hope. I learn from them. I love their work. They're marvelous actors. They're so fun to watch. When I'm on the sidelines, watching the group of them together, laughing, giggling, having the time of their lives. And then when it's time to get down to business, that's where they are. So that is what I look forward to. Thank you for asking.
Well, I actually think that's a beautiful note for us to end this conversation on. A nice hopeful moment. Because yes, who's here from Hulu? Dana, are you around? Can we greenlight season 5 early? Congratulations to you all, and thank you all so much for joining us.
Could I just add one shout out? Mike Barker directed this episode tonight, the first 3 episodes and episode 10. He brought our world to life, and we're extremely grateful as a director and an executive producer, and thank you so much.